So by going to the person who invented something and seeing how they designed it helps us to understand it better. And so to understand how God has wired us for gratitude really allows us to see that it's not just a something we should do. It's not just a something that God told us to do. It's not just a spiritual principle, although it's all of those things. It's also, and more importantly, the way that we're designed from our Creator. And so if this is the way that we're designed by our Creator, then to go with that flow obviously has much less resistance and gets us to where we want to be much quicker than trying to tell God you're smarter than He is. Saying, no, I know that's how I'm wired, I know that's what you told me to do, but I've decided to do it this way. Okay, but that normally doesn't work out too well for us. What works out well for us is to go, okay, time out. If whatever I'm going through right now, if that's not working, let me see how it can work. This is what God tells me to do. This is what intuitively I know I'm supposed to do. This is what is in alignment with my spiritual principles. And this is in direct alignment with how God has me wired from the top down. Maybe I should embrace that. Maybe I should grab hold of that, and maybe I should roll forward with it. So if we know these things, we can do these things. The challenge in life comes when we don't know what to do, when we feel like we're stuck, we're on that hedonic treadmill of just walking in place and walking in place and walking in place and not getting anywhere but exhausted. And when any of us are in that place, on that treadmill, we don't want to be. It's exhausting. It's tiring. It's wake up each day looking in the mirror going, another day on the treadmill. And that's not how we're designed to live life. If God is love and love is abundant beauty and thankfulness and gratitude and happiness and joy, and we don't see any of those things on the treadmill, then maybe it's time to get off the treadmill by simply looking at one of God's greatest gifts, the gift of gratitude, the gift of thankfulness. We say, rather than being on here, where all I'm thinking about, all I'm focused on, is my internal world, is my external circumstances, the things that didn't go the way I thought they should go, is that I didn't get this and that didn't happen and that shouldn't have happened and this person shouldn't have got that thing that did this thing over here. We take our mental focus off the things that we cannot control and instead put our mental focus on the things we can control. What can I find to be grateful for? Here's a quick test. Somebody once told me, imagine if the things you didn't have gratitude for today were gone tomorrow. Now imagine if you had to run through your life, run through your house, and be thankful for everything that you wanted to stay there. And the very next day, if you didn't, it was gone. How many things would we say that we took for granted? Honey, where's the dog? Well, I don't know. Were you thankful for him yesterday? Not really. He was having a bad day, that little dog. Well, don't know where he's at, dude. What if it was something more important? What if it was Trinity? What if it was my kid? Was just gone tomorrow. None of us are promised tomorrow. And we all have a finite amount of days on this earth, and when we give thanks for the people who are in our lives right now, and we can give thanks for the ones who were in our lives who are now hanging out with God. Because we know that they're in, even though we miss them, they're in better company than we are. And we're in some pretty darn good company. But they're hanging out with God, with the angels, flying on a cloud, doing all the cool stuff, immersed in unconditional love. And we still have to worry about things like electric bills. How we put gas in the tank. Are there going to be enough clients this week? Am I going to get that job? We're still thinking about all of these things of, oh, my body feels this way or my head feels that way. They're not thinking about any of that. They're thinking about, ooh, paradise, baby. And we can love them, absolutely love them, and absolutely thank God for the time that we had with them. But at the same time, it's not forsaking all of the blessings that are in our lives right now. Now, we can look at every time that there's a Thanksgiving message, there's always the standpoint of, I used to complain that I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. We can always look at the things that we have better than someone else. and living in the richest country in the world, we can certainly look at how the rest of the world, a good chunk of it, lives on $2 a day and say, wow. We can look at the places where people don't have food, where they go days without water, where something like indoor plumbing or electricity is a foreign concept, is magic. We can look at the things that we have inside of our own body when we watch Nick Voracek out there with no arms and no legs, just a head and a torso out making a difference in people's lives. That it's not about what we have, it's about who we are, and who we are God's kids. And we're God's kids who are incarnate for a short period of time. We're walking through this triple mortality, trying to become the best we can be, trying to live in the example of the one who created us, and working with everything that he put in our path, everything that he asked us to do, every gift that he's given, and every adversity that we've gone through. We've all had the most challenging time in our life at some point. Maybe you're going through that most challenging time in your life right now. Maybe that most challenging time was when you were 3 years old, or 5, or 7, or 13, or 21, or 82. It doesn't matter. At some point, we were all going through the most challenging time in our life. And we look at the roadmap that God gave us to get through those times. The first is to thank God that we're not alone going through them. We look at the poem of Footprints in the Sand that says, I never forsaken you, I have never abandoned you. And the times there were only one set of footprints in the sand is because I was carrying you. We look at the times that we're called upon to be an angel for someone else. Whether it's a thought, a word, a prayer, taking time, looking somebody in the eye, having a conversation, caring about who they are, what they feel, what they're going through, helping them out in some way. And we thank God for the times that people were there for us when we were in that space of, oh my goodness, I really need something. I don't know what it is. And when that something shows up, that angel arrives and says, let's go to lunch. I want to hang out. I want to get to know you. What's going on in your world? Oh, you got this or that big project? Let me help you out with that. As the song says, thank you for being a friend. When we look at the most traumatic times in our lives, and we look at the thing that changed the entire energy around it, forgiveness is good, but forgiveness is just a step. Just a step. Now let's say there are two people, and these two people, person one and person two, were both heavily abused when they were kids. Heavily abused. And person one never let it go. You talk to them about it, and they're like, yes, and they talk to you about it like it just happened yesterday, even though it was 40 years ago. They're still holding on to that thing so tight. And you say, well, how are you doing with that? Well, I've forgiven it. I've forgiven it, but I'm still holding on to it so tight. Now, person two went through the same thing as person one. But you see them and you go, I was like, oh, life is good, blah, 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 blah. Well, hey, I talked to person one, and they said that as kids, you both were terribly abused and all these things. I said, yeah, and I'm so glad. You're what? I am so glad I went through that. I wouldn't want to go through it again. But it helped make me who I am today. And beyond that, as I got through that, I learned things about myself. I learned things about forgiveness. I learned things about other people. I learned things about the universe. It put me on a path of truth, of trying to understand things. And then I went through a phase of forgiveness and trying to understand and trying to forgive. And once I got done with that part, I began to see the blessing that was in it for me, that even though it sucked to walk through this, God had a purpose in doing so. And without that purpose, I would not be able to counsel 10,000 people who have also been through abuse, who, if I hadn't been through abuse too, wouldn't even listen to me because they'd say, you don't know. But because I went through that, I do know, and that's given me a skeleton key, a hall pass into the innermost sanctums of so many people's lives that I get to be of service to, all because God gave me this gift of this thing that I really didn't like. The difference is not the forgiveness. Both people made it to that step. But when we get to the point of thankfulness, of gratitude for the things that we do not like, the things that we would wish we could have avoided, that's when we're truly free of those things. Because here's the thing, you can take back forgiveness, right? I say, Pop, I forgive you for blah, blah, blah. And next week, Pop does the same thing. Well, I didn't forgive you anyway. In fact, there's 3 other things I said I forgave you for that I really didn't. I'll bring them right back up again. Ha ha. Here's what you can't take back, a party. If I have a party for Pop and everybody comes with our party hats, we bring out guitars, we sing streamers, we go, woohoo, go Pop. You can't say, I unparty that. You can't. We're just not wired that way. We're not wired that way. And so the point with this is, in this time of giving thanks, the country song that says, if you're going through hell, keep on going. Don't set up shop. Don't set up your house and say, here's my new address, forward my mail. Just keep going through it. Keep going through it. And the way that you get through it is gratitude, is thankfulness for everything, good, bad, and everywhere in between. And the things that bring in even more of what we do want is also gratitude. Like the first quote says, a couple of quotes. Go back there real quick. Those are pretty sweet. You tell them. Be thankful for what you have, and you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever, ever have enough. How many of us been there?
Been there, done that, popped the t-shirt.
Right on. Next, gratitude is an inward feeling of kindness received. We know what gratitude is. Oh, that feels really good. I'm so glad somebody did this or that. It's an inward feeling. Thankfulness is that outward feeling. It's the expression of that. Dave, thank you for. Debbie, thank you for this or this. Marge, thank you for being you. Thank you for that. Misty, thank you for. And we're expressing it outwardly. It takes on a whole different energy than when we keep it bottled up like a genie in a bottle. Now, Thanksgiving is following that impulse, is creating a space where it's not only acceptable but encouraged. But on Thursday, when we're passing around potatoes and we're passing around turkey and we're passing around these things, we go around the table and we say, this is what I'm thankful for, and this is what I'm thankful for, and this is what I'm thankful for. It's the expression of that thankfulness that has its seed in gratitude that changes the way that our physical mind and the chemicals all move around up there. It changes how we focus. And lastly, if a fellow isn't thankful for what he's got, he isn't likely to be thankful for what he's going to get. One of the things that I'd heard repeatedly in my life was, something very similar to that statement. Now understand that growing up, I was the youngest, I was a boy, and we were broke, which meant hand-me-downs, which is fine except when the older 2 are sisters.
Unless you look cute with a skirt.
That's right, baby. And so when you're wearing a hand-me-down from your sister, thank God one of them was a tomboy. Thank you, God. But you say, gosh, if I hate this shirt, no matter what, I hate this shirt, no matter what, I hate this shirt, I'm programming my mind to say, I hate this shirt. Now, even when I have a shirt that I like, my brain has heard a million times, I hate this shirt, I hate this shirt, I hate this shirt. And then I get a new shirt and I go, I hate this shirt. Really? No, I picked it out, I love it. Really? Yeah, but I hate this shirt, I hate this shirt. Because I've programmed my mind to think it. But instead, when I would say, ooh, I love that it fits. The other stuff was looking like a half shirt. This fits, woohoo! And we started looking for the things to be grateful for in our lives. And we started to have more of those things, and more of those things, and more of those things. Last week we talked about giving, the other half of Thanksgiving. Last week was giving, and how giving opens us up, because it's the same door of giving and receiving on a two-way hinge, and giving helps to oil that, plant the seeds. Today is the thankful part. The Thanksgiving is 2 parts, thanks and giving. Last week was giving, this week is thanks. And when we look at thanks, we're all in that process of co-creation, of paradigm shift, of moving into a greater expansion, a greater version of ourselves. And we can do this because we've got a God with us who says, I love you. Now, some folks at most churches, spiritual gatherings, would have heard the song, I Love My Money, and went, what the heck is that? The love of money is the root of all evil. No, I would beg to differ. I believe that the lack of money is the root of all evil. Everything that I have, every crime that I have ever committed, I have stolen from grocery stores. Because I had no food. And they did, and I thought, I'm homeless, I'm living in a Volkswagen bus, and the worst they can do is put me in jail, and in jail they won't feed me. So I'm okay with this. It's kind of a win-win. I prefer not to have it on my record.